What if you could buy a piece of land, fill it with expensive RVs, and get paid every single night just for giving their owners a place to park? Sounds almost too easy. But there's a problem. A well-run RV park can generate more than $1 million in annual revenue. But that doesn't mean the owner gets to keep $1 million. In fact, the real story is much more complicated. From the highway, an RV park looks incredibly simple. A few roads, some grass, rows of RVs. Maybe a swimming pool. But underneath that peaceful appearance is a surprisingly complicated business. Because an RV park isn't simply selling a parking space. It's selling electricity, water, sewer access, security, convenience, and most importantly, a legal place for someone to stay. So the business is actually a combination of 4 things: real estate, infrastructure, hospitality, and recurring revenue. And that combination is exactly what makes RV parks so interesting to investors. But before the first RV arrives, there's one enormous expense: land. And choosing the wrong piece of land can destroy the economics before the business even begins. Cheap land sounds attractive, but what if nobody wants to visit it? A property in the middle of nowhere might cost very little, yet it could struggle to attract enough customers to survive. Now imagine paying much more for land near a lake, a national park, a beach, a major highway, or a popular tourist destination. Suddenly, that expensive land starts making sense. Because RV travelers aren't just buying a campsite, they're buying the location. And this creates one of the first rules of the business: a cheap location isn't always a cheap investment. Sometimes, paying more for the right location can produce far more revenue. But even after buying the land, you still don't have an RV park, you just have dirt. And turning that dirt into a functioning resort is where the spending really begins. Roads have to be built. Campsites have to be prepared. Utilities have to be installed. Drainage has to be planned. And everything has to work together. Because a modern RV isn't exactly a small vehicle. A giant motorhome needs enough space to enter, turn, park, and leave. So the roads can't be designed like a normal parking lot. One bad design decision can create problems for years. Then comes electricity. Every campsite needs a reliable power connection. And when dozens of RVs are running air conditioners at the same time, that electrical system gets tested very quickly. Then there's water. Every full hookup site needs access to fresh water. And across 100 campsites, those small pipes become a massive network. And then there's the system nobody wants to think about: sewer. Every RV site needs a way to safely remove wastewater. And when something goes wrong underground, the owner has a very expensive problem. Now imagine all of that finished. 100 RV sites, roads, utilities, landscaping, an office, maybe a pool and clubhouse. You finally have a real RV park. And now comes the exciting part. Customers. Imagine one beautiful campsite. A modern RV pulls in. The owner connects electricity, water, and sewer. They stay the night, and then they pay the park owner. Now multiply that by dozens of RVs. Every day, new travelers arrive. Some stay one night, others stay a week, and some stay for months. This is where the recurring revenue begins. Now imagine every one of those 100 sites is occupied at an average rate of $60 per night. That's $6,000 every single day, and more than $2 million a year. Sounds incredible, but there's a catch. You almost never have every campsite occupied. Some guests leave, some reservations get canceled. Some days are slow, and some sites simply sit empty. Every empty site represents money that can never be recovered. Let's say the park averages around 65% occupancy. Now the business is generating roughly 65 occupied sites on an average night. That can still create more than $1 million in annual campsite revenue. But revenue is where the story gets misleading. Because when an owner sees more than $1 million coming into the business, it can look like a fortune. But this is where we need to ask a very different question. How much actually stays? Because money starts leaving almost immediately. Employees need to be paid. Electricity needs to be purchased. Water needs to be supplied. Roads need maintenance. Insurance needs to be paid. Taxes need to be paid. And the list keeps growing. An RV park may look passive, but somebody is always working behind the scenes. Someone has to check guests in. Someone has to answer the phone. Someone has to clean bathrooms. Someone has to cut the grass. Someone has to repair broken equipment. And sometimes that work happens at midnight. Imagine a guest discovering that their electrical hookup isn't working. The guest wants a solution right now. So a maintenance employee grabs a flashlight and heads into the darkness. That's the reality of hospitality. The customer sees a peaceful vacation. The owner sees another problem that needs to be solved. Now imagine a hot summer afternoon. Dozens of RV air conditioners are running at full power. Every refrigerator is operating. Every water heater is working. Every guest is using electricity. And suddenly the power bill becomes a very important number. Behind the peaceful RV park is a complicated electrical network of cables, power boxes, connections, and equipment that has to keep working every day. Customers may never notice the infrastructure until it doesn't work, and that's when something invisible suddenly becomes the most important thing in the entire park. Water creates the same problem. One RV doesn't use an enormous amount of water, but 100 RVs every day. For an entire year, that's a very different equation. And sewer systems are even more unforgiving. A blocked or damaged system can affect multiple campsites at once. One underground problem can suddenly become a very visible business problem. This is the part customers never see. Above ground, everything looks peaceful. Families are relaxing. Children are playing. People are enjoying their vacations. But underneath them is an entire infrastructure network keeping the business alive. And that infrastructure never stops aging. Roads crack, lights fail, trees grow, machines break. Bathrooms need cleaning. Water lines leak. Maintenance isn't optional. It's part of the business. And remember, these aren't lightweight vehicles. Large RVs and heavy trucks are driving over the same roads again and again. Eventually, the pavement pays the price. And repairing those roads can become a surprisingly large expense. Then there's weather, heavy rain, strong winds, flooding, snow, extreme heat. A storm can damage landscaping, roads, buildings, and infrastructure in a matter of hours. And the owner still has to pay the bills afterward. That's why insurance matters. An RV park isn't just a piece of land. It's a property filled with vehicles, buildings, guests, electrical systems, pools, roads, and equipment. And protecting all of that can be expensive. Then comes another bill that never disappears. Property taxes. The park can be busy. The park can be empty. The taxes still arrive. And that's one reason occupancy matters so much. Now let's add another ingredient: debt. Most investors don't want to spend millions of dollars of their own money. So they borrow. And borrowing can make the returns much better if everything goes right. But debt has a dangerous characteristic. The payment doesn't care about occupancy. It doesn't care if the park is full. And it doesn't care if half the sites are empty. The payment still arrives every month. Now imagine something goes wrong. Travel demand falls. A recession begins. A competitor opens nearby. Or a major local attraction loses popularity. Suddenly, fewer RVs arrive. Scene 45 voice-over occupancy falls from 65% to 45%. That's a huge drop in revenue, but many expenses remain almost exactly where they were. And that's when a profitable-looking business can suddenly become financially uncomfortable. The owner is still paying the mortgage, still paying taxes, still paying insurance, still maintaining the property, still paying employees. Revenue falls faster than costs. And that's one of the biggest risks in the entire business. A business can have plenty of revenue and still struggle with cash flow. Look at this empty campsite. Everything is ready. The road is there. The electricity is there. The water is there. The land is there. but nobody is using it. Tonight's revenue from that site is simply gone, and you can't save that empty night for later. You can't sell yesterday's campsite tomorrow. Once the night passes, the opportunity disappears forever. That's why a campsite is a form of perishable inventory. Every empty night is revenue that can never be recovered. But smart RV park owners have another strategy. Long-term guests. Instead of finding a new customer every night, they can rent a site for weeks or months. The nightly price may be lower, but the revenue becomes much more predictable. And predictable revenue can be extremely valuable when you're paying large fixed expenses. This is especially important in warm weather states. Every winter, thousands of RV travelers head south. They escape the cold and spend weeks or months in warmer destinations. And for some RV parks, winter is actually the busiest season. The same property can look completely different depending on the time of year. Empty during one part of the year, packed during another. Understanding that pattern is critical, because the owner isn't just managing space, they're managing demand. And that leads to another powerful tool: pricing. Busy holiday weekend? Charge more. Slow weekday? Offer a better rate. Peak season? Increase prices. The goal is simple: make every campsite earn as much as the market will allow, and not every campsite has to cost the same. Some sites can be larger, some can have better views, some can offer more privacy, some can sit directly beside the water, and customers may gladly pay more for them. Think about it. The owner isn't creating another piece of land. They're simply identifying which pieces of existing land are more valuable and then charging accordingly. That's a powerful real estate strategy. At the basic end of the market, an RV park might offer little more than clean campsites and essential hookups. That's enough for some travelers, but others want something completely different. They want a resort, a pool, a clubhouse, a playground, a dog park, activities, beautiful landscaping, and an experience worth paying extra for. This changes the economics completely. A swimming pool can make the property more attractive. Families may stay longer. Guests may be willing to pay higher rates. But the pool also costs money. Chemicals, cleaning, repairs, and maintenance all add up, so every amenity has to earn its place. The same applies to a clubhouse. It can improve the guest experience, create a sense of community, and make the park feel more like a destination. But building it is expensive. Even something as simple as a dog park can matter. RV travelers often travel with pets, and a convenient place for their dogs can make one park more attractive than another. Small features can influence big purchasing decisions. Then there's the convenience store. A traveler realizes they forgot something. Maybe snacks, maybe ice, maybe a camping supply. They don't want to drive 20 minutes away, so they buy it inside the park, and the owner earns another small stream of revenue. And now the business starts to look very different. Campsite fees, premium sites, long-term rentals, laundry, recreation, convenience sales. One property can generate money from several different sources, but there's still a dangerous side to the story. Imagine finding an RV park for sale at a surprisingly low price. It looks like a bargain, but why? Why would someone sell it so cheaply? Sometimes the answer is hidden underneath the property. Old sewer pipes, outdated electrical systems, damaged roads, aging water lines. Infrastructure problems can turn a cheap purchase into a multi-million-dollar repair project. So when an investor sees a cheap RV park, the smartest question isn't, how much money can I save? It's, why is this property so cheap? That one question can prevent a very expensive mistake.